Welcome to the Health Hobby Podcast, the place for busy moms searching for simple solutions to weight loss, more energy, better nutrition, fitness, and healthy living time management. I'm your host, Amanda Ford. Stick with me and make health your hobby as I guide you through simple steps and skill-building exercises so you can finally hit those dreamy health and weight loss goals. Take it from me, it's time to kick all those fad diets and quick fix workouts to the curb. It's all about slowing down and finding your very own rhythm of healthy living, because when you find your health, you find your joy. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome back to the Health Hobby Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Ford, and it's been a bit, and I just have to confess, my work has been off the hook busy, and I just have been mentally exhausted and haven't felt like I have the energy that I want to have when I'm recording a podcast. So I finally got a little rest last night and I'm feeling a little more jazzed and can't wait to get this episode recorded. We're going to be getting into the third episode of my Nutrition for Weight Loss series. This is episode 19 of the podcast altogether, but it's the third podcast in the series. So a quick recap. The last episode I talked about math, nutritional math, and calorie budgeting. And prior to that, I started with the basics and talked about general nutrition vocabulary. So you can really start to understand the concepts that I'm talking about, especially as I continue on with this podcast, so you can build a nutrition routine that is solid for weight loss. If you haven't already, go back and listen to those 2 episodes and get caught up. But today is an exciting day, and I can't wait to talk about this, because today we're going to be talking about what to eat to stay on track, feel full, and fuel your body while you're losing weight. And we're also going to be tapping into why food choices actually matter beyond just staying in your calorie budget. But before we get into it, if you could please help me out by hitting that like and subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube, or making sure you're following the podcast on your favorite podcast players, as that is your signal to yourself that you are ready to take your health seriously. I know that's you. So thank you in advance, as your support helps me to be able to continue this work, which is my passion, to help as many women as I can find their very own healthy living routines, strong bodies through fitness, and dreamiest weight loss goals. So you have the nutrition vocabulary all set. You understand. You've got your calorie budget all ready to go. And now you're left with the really popular question that I hear all the time. And it's, well, what should I eat? And it really does have to be one of the most common questions I get. And I've got super good news for you. You can literally eat anything you want. Okay, that's it. The episode's over, you guys. I'm just kidding. But I do want to make that clear. You have the ability to eat whatever you want. And when we're on a weight loss journey, that's really meant to teach you lifelong skills in the kitchen, so you know how to maintain your weight, you know how to fluctuate what you're eating if you're not feeling great or something. And, for our purposes here, we want to make sure that we're eating food that's really fueling our body, because we're going to be eating in a calorie deficit. So we want to make sure every little piece of energy that we're taking in, it is as optimal, as clean, as full of all of that goodness that we need every day, so our body can feel good and also function, right? So it's not that you can actually eat anything you want. You do have to eat within a calorie budget, but you do have the freedom to eat. If you want to have some cake at your friend's wedding and several glasses of champagne, by all means, please do that and enjoy it. Obviously, you're not doing that every day, because it would probably blow your calorie budget out of the water. But really, it's not about being restrictive. It's about eating things you love and learning how to eat appropriate portion sizes per your calorie budget. And calorie budgeting isn't just for weight loss. It is for the purposes of this podcast, but it's also for maintaining your current weight, or even there's people out there that want to gain weight. So it's not always about weight loss, but the reality is always this: whatever your goal is, you have to maintain that calorie budget. However, you can technically eat whatever you like. There isn't any particular food that is the gold standard, although I would like to call out eating high protein. So high protein foods would be top of mind when I think of like a particular food that's really good for weight loss. We'll get into that in a second here, but eating whatever you want is an option, with that caveat that you stay in that calorie budget or pretty dang close to your calorie budget. With that comes the need to maintain portion sizes and tracking your food daily. And to be honest, this is where I lose many women because they simply don't want to learn or participate in this process of tracking their food, doing the trial and error experimentation of portion sizes and then tracking it and seeing how that particular meal affected their weight loss goal and if that was working for them or if it really didn't make them feel good. It's really an experiment, you guys, with some tools. Of course, you're not just going out there, blind, but it is a process, and I totally understand that it can seem intimidating and time consuming. And those are usually the gripes that I get when I go, okay, you've come to me, you want to lose weight. We're going to dive into strength training and we're going to talk about building you a calorie budget and working on particular macronutrient ratios. And when I say that, people are just like, oh, nope, they throw in the towel. But, I do have to say though, a lot of women that come to me, they're like, oh, I've done everything. They've done everything but this because this is the hard work. It's actually easy, but it's hard at the same time because most of us don't know how to do this because we've never really tried it before. We haven't gotten, our balance, just like riding a bicycle. It's a learning, there's a learning curve, and it's not that steep. You just have to participate. I would say a week or two and you'll really find a groove. And everything kind of just starts to fall into place and it becomes just like your regular daily routine after that. But again, if that's you, let's stick together on this one. And I hope to change your mind and encourage and motivate you to take action on these steps and feel open to actually trying this out this time and sticking with it because, girl, it's going to work. What I can share, like I just said, what I can share from personal experience and from coaching many women through weight loss is that this is a learning experience, learning how to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, tracking your food. Those are all new routines that most of us aren't doing at all. Most of us are eating just mindlessly. We're eating very quickly. We're eating like high amounts of carbohydrates and, maybe really low protein. And we're just not eating in a nice balanced way, not even for weight loss, just for optimal health and feeling great. So it's really, really a new rhythm and routine for people to take on the nutrition portion of their weight loss journey. And that's totally okay. And most women don't realize that, it's a learning curve and it's skills based. And, they give in to their excuses and never dig their heels in to this process. So with that said, it's not going to be easy right out of the gate. It's a new routine, a new rhythm. But as you take time to get used to experimenting and trying new foods, making substitutions or figuring out, the perfect portion of your favorite snacks, for example, I have to say, I love chips and salsa. And one might say, oh, you can't be eating tortilla chips and salsa or guacamole on your weight loss journey. Those aren't healthy snacks. Well, yeah, I would have to argue that pico de gallo fresh salsa is quite healthy. It's just raw vegetables and, tomatoes, but, maybe the tortilla chips, yeah, they're fried in oil. They're made of corn flour, regular flour or corn flour. There might not be some great ingredients in them if you're not getting organic chips. Okay, they're not terrible for you, but here's the thing. Most people overeat chips, right? They sit there and they have their hand in the bag and they're just kind of eating while they're watching TV or they're working, and it's very mindless. Well, that's the thing. When we kind of focus in, and I don't want to use the term mindful eating, that actually has like a whole, maybe I'll do a podcast on that. I don't eat within that philosophy. I eat per the math and how much I've eaten. And I do listen to how full I am, but like if I've under eaten, for example, I will make sure that I get a little a little snack in to make sure that I hit my calorie target. So my body really does have enough food to make it through the 24 hours. So, the snack comment is, I have to say, I like to make sure, I still get to eat my chips and salsa. It's literally my favorite snack. You can ask my family, I go crazy for it. So I portion out my chips, I get the salsa, and I am feeling good and satisfied, and I'm still eating literally the things that I love. So you will be building, just like I have gotten a little routine with my favorite snack, your very own eating routines that are customized to your preferences. And this is how you lose the weight and keep it off, you guys. It's not by using your sister-in-law's meal plan or your neighbor's meal plan that, maybe she just drinks like juice all day long. First of all, that's not healthy, but maybe that doesn't work for you. It might work for you. I don't recommend it. I don't want to talk about juicing, doing a juice fast or anything like that. But all I'm trying to say is that eating the foods that you like is super, super important, and it will help you maintain the weight loss nutrition rhythm that you need to hit your goals. Maybe eating paleo is like this whole thing and it's trendy and you want to do it, or keto. But then you start eating on the meal plans, you're like, I don't really love all these foods. And that makes it difficult to maintain. That's why so many people come to me and they go, I've tried this diet, I've tried that diet. None of it works. Well, here's the truth. They all work if you eat within a calorie budget and maintain it and are consistent with it. That's the truth. They all work if you eat within a calorie budget and you do not overconsume calories. I will preach that over and over again. It's all about the calorie budget. There are some strategies that we're going to talk about today when it comes to food choices, just to get a little bit more calorie burn and to help us feel full longer. But ultimately, it comes down to the math, right? Energy expenditure. How much energy did we use in the 24 hours and versus how much we ate? So we want to be in a deficit, so our body is pulling from our stored energy, our fat, therefore losing weight. And we can do that by eating the foods that we love. You will have reshaped your eating habits, all while allowing yourself to make mistakes or miss a day. But most importantly, you will have learned a new skill that is going to help you lose weight for real this time. And another area that really holds women back, and I promise I'm getting to the what to eat portion, but I wanted to talk about these roadblocks for a minute, because when I start talking about calorie budget, I already said, and tracking calories, people are just like, hard no, stop, I'm not even going to listen. So let's just talk about that for a second before we get into the what to eat. One of the other areas that holds women back, especially busy moms, if you're listening to this, chances are you're a full-time working mom like I am. You're very busy. You have multiple children. You have pets. You have a husband. You have a house that needs tending. You have chores. You have, outside of the home commitments. You have a book club. You have church. You have date night with your husband. You have coffee dates with your girlfriends. You just, want time to rest and relax. All the things, right? Pack them on, put the list. It's busy out there, you guys. And what happens here when we are busy like that is we lose sight, or some of us just don't even do this, of home cooked meals. And I want to emphasize that a really smart strategy for a smart weight loss journey, when we talk about what to eat, when we're talking about nutrition, well, one of the things right here is home cooked meals. So answering your question, one thing that you can really start focusing on is, well, what should I eat? Well, right now I'm eating a lot of fast food. I'm eating a lot of prepackaged foods that are frozen and prepared for me from the supermarket. All totally fine, by the way, if they're eaten in appropriate portions. But why I like to emphasize, home cooked meals. And yes, I know it takes more time and planning and budgeting and physical time after work to prepare home cooked meals when all you want to do is rest. I get it. You really get the control back in the kitchen, which can be a strategy for your weight loss. And this can be a huge challenge for women who work full time, you guys. Typically, you're eating pre-made meals from the store, fast food, or even just eating out all the time. And maybe it's not even quote unquote junk food, but other people are preparing your food, right? So all those things you can still participate in. However, increasing the frequency of how many times you make your own meals gives you the control. And hear me out. I work full time Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I commute, and I have two teenagers who have extremely packed schedules. I actually really love to cook, but to be honest, when I get home from work, I don't want to cook. It's a huge struggle for me, but I believe the effort is important, not for just weight loss goals and body composition goals and just feeling good. But number one, sitting at home around the dinner table is very important for family dynamics and healthy relationships. And this isn't a parenting or family podcast, but I do want to throw that out there that, eating at home isn't just about having control in the kitchen, but it's also really, really just healthy for your family. And for our purposes here, like I've always said, cooking puts the control of what you're eating, the size of the portion you're eating, the ingredients into your hands. I encourage you to eat home cooked meals so you can control the portion sizes and ingredients. Plus, it slows down the meal process. It takes time and allows you to literally connect with the food you're making. You'll be making something healthy, something that will make you feel good, but also it will be prepared for your weight loss goals in mind. Instead of those ultra fast quick meals, that you make quickly, or you pick up quickly from, the takeout place, or, you're grabbing from fast food, or it's a microwave meal. And I'm not bashing any of these things, right? Because I've literally said at the beginning of the episode, we can eat whatever we want, but this is just yet another strategy of what to eat, right? I'm answering that question. And before it's like a particular food item, I want you guys to think about, well, eating at home can really change your ability to lose weight versus eating out all the time. So it's not even a particular food, but taking control of the food that's being prepared for you all the way down to the ingredients gives you power and the ability to hit those weight loss goals. And slowing down the process helps you to learn those skills, portion control, and offers time for your body, right? You're eating slower. You're not just scarfing food down while you're driving home from work because you're trying to get to the house so you can let the dog out and then get the kids to jujitsu practice on time. No, it's slowing down and allowing your body to recognize that it's actually full. So when we eat slower, our body has the time to recognize that, hey, I've actually had enough. Therefore, we are avoiding or doing our best to try to avoid overeating, so overconsumption. And I think that it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for your body to signal, like your brain and your stomach to have the signaling and the communication that you're actually full. So you can see why if we're eating fast food or we're eating quickly because we're in a hurry, and I get it, there's a lot to get done, that you overeat unintentionally. Even if you're eating a healthy food per se, a healthy meal, we might eat seconds or thirds because we ate so fast that you don't feel full, and yet you have a very full stomach and adequate calories that you already took in. So eating at home, preparing your meals, slowing down the food process in general is the first thing I want you to think about of when we're trying to answer that question, well, what to eat? Well, home cooked meals is a really great place to start. And I'm going to talk about a lot of things here. So take all of it, maybe take one or two things and work on that, for a few weeks and then add something else in. We don't want to do too many changes at once, but it's really, really important to kind of start plugging away at this process, start learning and implementing and getting it wrong too, and then figuring out how to correct it the next day or the next week. Okay, I feel like I hammered that point home. It's time to talk about food for real. So what should you eat for weight loss? I want you to get out a notebook and list some foods as we chat and take some notes as I talk through this podcast, because your eating routine is truly yours. And I want you to kind of start thinking about when I talk about maybe a particular type of nutrient, like what's coming up in just a second here. We're going to be talking about proteins. Well, start jotting down what are the things that you like that are protein based, because those are the foods that you need to be eating on your weight loss journey. You want to make sure those foods are included. So I started answering the question by saying, hey, eating at home is the first thing you should do. Home cooked meals is the first answer to our question about what to eat. The second answer, when we're talking about what are we going to prioritize on our what to eat plan for our weight loss, well, it should be ensuring that we're eating all of the macronutrients. Remember from the first episode of this series, I covered what a macronutrient was. If you haven't listened to that, go back 2 episodes and go ahead and learn the vocabulary of nutrition. A macronutrient is a nutrient that you need in large quantities that you need to consume. So the big 3 are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. There is one other element I want to start focusing on also, and that would be fiber. So leaving out, 1 or 2 of the macronutrients. So, there's always like a trend like keto, like really, really high fats, minimal carbs. If you're doing keto right, you're really eating super low, like low carbohydrates. I do not recommend that. We're not going to get into the debate about, but if I was coaching you, I would not recommend that you ate super low carbohydrates. Now, if you have some sort of metabolic disease like diabetes that requires you to adjust these macronutrients in a way that is optimal for your body per your condition, now that's a different story. I'm talking to the generally healthy woman that can pretty much eat whatever she wants. Okay, so when we're talking about what to eat for a weight loss journey, we need to think about eating a balanced meal, meaning proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. We're not going to prioritize one or the other, although we are going to focus on proteins, eating a little bit more proteins, but we're still going to have an adequate amount of fat and a pretty robust amount of carbohydrates. So it's not about saying carbs are bad. They're not. We need them. They're very, very important. And we want to start making sure that we're focusing on fueling our body with everything that it needs. We don't want to leave one out just because it might be trendy right now. Leaving one or just one or 2 of these out doesn't offer optimal energy. And if you stick with me on this podcast, you're going to start strength training and you're going to need all the nutrients more than you'll ever know. Your body's going to need all that fuel to recover from your workouts. So remember, food is fuel. And my husband, I don't know if this is true, but so there's a particular brand of gasoline around here in Northern California, and I don't know if it's all over the nation, but it happens to be quite a bit cheaper per gallon versus like a Chevron or a Shell or an Exxon gasoline station. And my husband swears that the fuel at that gasoline station, the cheaper one, like his car does not perform as well, and that the gas is used up much quicker versus when he fills up with, the higher quality gas at Chevron or Shell or Exxon that costs a little bit more. But those gasoline formulas are optimized with the perfect amount of chemicals to make the car run efficiently, right? So it's the same idea. Even though, you might want something quick and fast and cheap, it's not really the best for your body's functioning. It's the same idea with the gasoline. So I don't know if it's true. He swears that his car runs out of gas really quick when he gets the cheaper one at this other brand. But anyway, I wanted to kind of make that analogy there. Your food is really your fuel, just like your car. You want to put high quality oil in your car, high quality gasoline in your car, so it runs really well and doesn't break down on you. Same thing with the foods that you put in your body. Okay, what am I supposed to eat on a weight loss journey? Well, the next thing I would say is focusing on whole foods. So way less processed foods, as much as possible. Prepare your foods from simple and raw ingredients. And this is another way to put the control in your hands. And when we're talking about eating whole foods, that kind of flows right into, hey, remember I said we need to focus on home cooked meals. So that means you're getting ingredients and you're preparing a meal it doesn't always have to be 100% from scratch, but you're paying attention, you're eating less highly processed foods. And I like to call that clean eating. So there's a whole debate about if there's anything that's clean or not. But for me, if you ask me, and I actually have a podcast on deck to talk about all the different ways that one can be clean, I'm doing air quotes here, clean eating. But one of the first things that I think about is mostly non-processed foods as clean eating. And I'm talking about like the really processed, like sugar cereals, candies, like white breads, things like that, crackers. And, because processed foods could also mean like organic cheese that was shredded for you. That's technically processed. But I'm talking about, the foods, if you look on the ingredients, like you can't pronounce any of the words on the ingredients because they're basically chemicals that you've never heard of. And that's the food that you're eating. So those chemicals make you feel sluggish. They make you feel sick. They make you feel bloated. They make you feel lethargic, tired. They make you break out. They can give you GI upset. They can give you joint pain. There's all types of things that processed foods just wreck your body. And so for me, when I'm like, okay, what's a strategy for what to eat on a weight loss journey? Well, I'm working out. I already feel like crap, so I'm not going to keep eating the crappy food that's making me feel like that. I want to eat whole foods that God made, that are clean, that come from nature, that are prepared, even if it's, it might be prepared like you get sliced apples or something, right, in a package. That's okay, but I'm just really talking about all those quick snacks that all of us are eating. And even an example I said earlier, the tortilla chips. Well, I have to make sure that I get organic tortilla chips so there's not anything funky in them, because the ones that I really like, to be honest with you, they are full of all kinds of weird oils and other preservatives that, why do I need to eat that? I can just eat the ones that are made with 3 ingredients and don't really bother my stomach. So eating whole foods is one of the strategies and the answers to what to eat, because it flows into that strategy of cooking more of your own meals, and it reduces the intake of icky chemicals that can just make you feel bad and unmotivated, right? Like you will be, I got to do a different podcast on clean eating. Like when you cut out the processed foods that have all those highly those high preservatives and other food dyes, chemicals. And I know that's a hot topic right now, but it really always has been, because it's so bad for you. It's literally poison. That's one of the reasons you don't feel great right now. And when you turn that stuff off and start focusing on eating more fruits and veggies that are ideally organic, just really working on less prepared snack foods and things like that, you are really going to see a major change in your motivation and your energy, your bloat. You might feel bloated right now, and you're going to get really successful on your weight loss journey. Okay, next, let's dive into each of the macronutrients and talk about what foods you can eat, but you can eat any of them. But let's identify the foods you love as we talk through this and walk through this in the categories of proteins, fats, carbs. I'm going to talk about fiber in a little bit. I'm going to talk about water in a little bit. We want to make sure that we're identifying the foods that we like. And I'm going to kind of talk about some tips that I use in making my own meal plans and some things that I found that really work for me in my journey. So let's start with protein. So I did say that we don't want to highlight any one nutrient as being better or worse. When I start talking about protein, that's not my intention. The reason we want to start with protein is protein. First of all, let's talk about what protein is again. So protein is one of the macronutrients, and what protein is really great for and is used for is muscle repair. So remember, we're going to start strength training. If you stick with me, you're really going to start to get strong and feel good and build that sexy body, and you're going to lose the weight. But hey, we need to take in more protein so we can build muscle. So not only does it repair muscles, you're also building muscle at the same time. It helps with metabolic processes and helping you feel full. So that's why protein is such a major strategy in weight loss. It's because not only do we want to make sure we're maintaining muscle as we lose weight, because when we're losing weight, we're also losing muscle mass. So that's why I'm really big on strength training, because we want to build more lean muscle, because that actually helps with your calorie burn too, which is pretty cool. And that's kind of like a deeper conversation I don't want to get into today, but also it helps you feel full longer. So when we're eating less calories, feeling full, eating foods that help us feel full longer is one of the best strategies that you can do. The other really cool thing, it's more sciencey based, is that protein has a higher thermic effect. So meaning when you eat higher protein, when you eat proteins, it takes more energy, or it takes more calories for your body to break it down and digest it. So yes, you're burning calories digesting food. Remember, everything that we're doing as I sit here talking, this is me burning calories. In fact, it's not so much our exercise that really gets our calories burned fired up. It's all the things that we do throughout the day. Our body needs energy to do that, including digestion. And it takes a little bit more energy versus fat and carbohydrates to digest protein. So it's like a secret weight loss weapon. And again, I'm not saying it's better than fats, because we need healthy fats and we need carbohydrates, and we're going to talk about those, but really think about all those really cool things that I just mentioned that protein does. And that's why I really want to focus on starting this conversation with talking about protein. So in efforts to make this simple, let's just identify some protein-rich foods. So, and as I talk, maybe jot down some of the things that just pop out to you, and just make a couple notes in your notebook, or on your iPhone or something. So proteins, most people just immediately jump to meat. Lean meats on a weight loss journey are your friends, although I do eat ground beef and steak. I don't typically eat a lot of pork chops, but I do eat bacon. Strategically in a weight loss journey, I would coach you to eat mostly lean meat. So chicken breasts, turkeys, lean ground beef, fish, eggs, lots of eggs. Man, I eat so many eggs. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu, tempeh, beans, lentils. So it's a really, really important nutrient to make sure you're getting enough. And most people really aren't eating enough protein. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the other thing, another source of protein would be supplements. So if you use my calorie budget sheet from last episode, you're going to be seeing you're eating probably much higher amounts of protein than you're used to. And to ensure that you get to that quantitative amount, so whatever amount that you calculated for yourself, it's probably necessary to use some sort of supplementation in addition to eating those lean meats, eggs, beans, lentils, Greek yogurts, cottage cheeses. So I want to share a couple hacks for getting enough protein, because most people just are not eating enough protein. They aren't. And when we start eating high amounts of protein, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. I can't eat enough food today. Because you just have to get used to your shift in protein intake. And two, you have to be strategic and making sure you do get your proteins intake in on your weight loss journey, because you want to use all your tools and strategies so you're successful. And one of the ways that I do that is when I build my meal plan, I build what I call a protein foundation. So let's talk about this for a second. You can jot down and build your own protein foundation. So what I mean by that is that I outline the 3 main meals of the day. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then what you would do is decide what your protein will be for each meal. So for example, for breakfast, I might plug in Greek yogurt. Then for lunch, I'm going to plug in 4 ounces of sliced roasted deli turkey, And then for dinner, I might put 4 ounces of grilled chicken. So right there, I've already got about 80 grams of protein in my day, just right there. And getting enough protein, it can be really challenging. So right there, I have whole foods. I haven't had any supplementation. I'm getting, things that I've probably most likely prepared at my home. And you might be saying, well, how do you know it's 80 grams of protein? Well, I have a food tracker and I put in, the ounces and the particular food item into my food tracker. I use chronometer or chronometer. I always say it wrong. Someone please tell me how to say it. And if I put those 3 things in, it was about 80 grams of protein just with those few items. Well, I am working to eat about 166 grams of protein every day, which is quite high, but I'm lifting a lot of weight. I have a heavy weightlifting routine, so that's something that I really need. Plus, for you guys, eating high protein is a strategy for weight loss, and it's also going to help you as you get into your fitness routine if you follow a weight training routine, which I hope you will because you're listening to this podcast and that is our strategy on the Health Hobby. However, so now you have your protein foundation, right? You have 3 solid meals with really good amounts of protein in them. From there, I can plug in snacks that are high in protein to hit my goal. So now I can be like, okay, I'm gonna have a protein shake, and I actually put a Greek yogurt in my protein shake when I put it in the blender, so that bumps me up. That's one of my snacks. Oh, I'm gonna have a protein bar, at work, mid-morning. Oh, I'm gonna have, a cup of bone broth, in the evening or maybe with my dinner. And you can see how then it becomes easier to get your protein counts in with not a ton of supplementation when we build that protein foundation. So I want you to think about right now, what's going to be your protein foundation? Do you really love to have eggs in the morning? One of the things I really love is Greek yogurt in the morning, or I like to have my protein shake in the morning. So think about what's easy for you to make, something that you can maintain every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just, eat the same thing every day. It's not that bad. Most people actually do. And it makes it a whole lot easier, a whole lot more cost effective, and easier to track. I'm going to keep going talking about protein and talk about my 5 kitchen essentials that I use to get enough protein. So my pantry always has Greek yogurt. It's super versatile. I literally use it in everything. And 3/4 a cup of it is 18 grams of protein. That's very high. I use organic bone broth when I make rice, soups. You can also mix, I put a little bit in my salad dressing. If I'm making like a homemade ranch, you can, put it in pasta sauce while you're boiling pasta. It's really good. You can just drink it straight. 1 8-ounce cup of organic bone broth, the one that I get the one from Costco. It's 9 grams of protein or 10 grams of protein. And it's like a cozy, warm little cup of soup in the evening. That's quick and it's different. It's not just like another protein shake. I also always get organic roasted turkey sliced from our local deli. And I just, honestly, sometimes I make sandwiches, but I just use it as snacks. I just go in the fridge and I like grab a hunk of it and eat it. Like if I'm in a hurry or if I don't have time to make my lunch, I'll just grab, a hunk of it. I'll bring that and I'll eat that for lunch with like, I don't know, an apple and like salad and like more snack type of foods. But it's there for sandwiches and it's there just for snacking. High protein and iron in turkey. Very, very good for women to eat turkey who are on a weight loss journey or just in general, because especially a lot of us are low in iron. So this is a double whammy for answering that question, well, what to eat. I really recommend that you start eating roasted turkey. Ideally, it's not just deli turkey, like from like the grocery aisle, but it's roasted turkey. If you go up to the deli, like at Whole Foods, they roast turkeys there and then they cut it into, sandwich slices on the meat slicer. So something like that. It's actually, non-processed turkey breast. And let's see what else. Whey protein powder. I love chocolate flavor. And I've just recently started using the Kirkland whey protein powder. the Kirkland brand from Costco. We shop a lot at Costco. I have a family of 4. I have 2 teenagers that eat literally us out of house and home, and Costco is my friend. And I actually love this formula. It's pretty clean and it tastes good. So if you are not used to protein powders and you have a protein drink for the first time, you might taste that it definitely has a different type of taste, but this particular, and you kind of have to get used to it. It really has a great taste. It's very clean and it's only whey protein. So I want to talk about, there's different types of protein powders out there. You could get protein powders that's just protein, like I was just talking about, or you can get protein powders that are like a meal replacement shake. So it has fats, carbs, it has other vitamins and minerals in it. It has dehydrated fruits, veggies, other greens and things in it to make it more of a full meal. It will have a full macronutrient profile. Those are great too, but just know that if you're using that as your protein foundation, or plugging that in, that extra profile of the fats and carbs are going to shift your calorie budget and your intake of those particular macronutrients if you're counting your macros. Of course, I use eggs. I love eggs all the time. And those are the things that I always, always, always have in my kitchen. And another really important way to ensure that you're getting enough protein is starting your day out with a high protein meal. So like I said, we would make that foundation of protein, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plug in those high protein items. But starting your day out with protein, first of all, it gets that healthy meal in versus like grabbing a bagel. Bagels are not bad. I love bagels. I eat bagels, once in a while, or versus like a pastry or croissant. It just kind of goes through you, right? You use that fuel up pretty quickly and then you become hungry again. Well, if you're eating a high protein meal, oatmeal's got a lot of protein in it and it's tasty. It kind of sticks to your ribs, it makes you feel full. It's a great option for breakfast, or, if you like a savory oatmeal, you can do like a lunch oatmeal, but it's really important to start your day out right. And starting off with high protein not only jumpstarts your protein goals for the day, right? It jumpstarts you towards hitting those goals, but it's going to help you feel full. So you're not like crashing mid-morning and running to the vending machine or grabbing a donut from the conference room or the snack table at work or whatever, So the other thing that I do is I literally add Greek yogurt to everything, literally everything. I put it in my protein shakes, so listen to this. My protein powder, 1 scoop of it is 25 grams of protein. I put almost an entire serving of yogurt into my blender when I'm making the protein. So it not only makes the shake thicker, which I like, but it adds about 19 more grams of protein. So that right there is like a huge front load of protein for me if I'm having that for breakfast, which I do quite often. So Greek yogurt is your friend. You can make it into salad dressings. You can make it into marinades. You can put it in desserts. You can just eat it plain with berries and honey. It is so versatile and it's packed with protein. It's a whole food, raw ingredient. And it's just so good for you and such a essential part of my weight loss journey and my kitchen pantry. My whole family eats it, that I highly recommend you start eating Greek yogurt. I use the Kirkland Greek yogurt, the zero fat or the Faye, whatever they have at Costco. Again, I shop mostly at Costco, but multiple types of Greek yogurt if you are at the traditional store that's non-Costco. But I do want to call out yogurt. Yogurt's a great food item for protein, but yogurt can often have a lot of added sugar. So you want to make sure you're sticking to the plain version. And if you want to add some sweetness to it, drizzle some honey or put some fresh fruit on it. One of the other things I like to do is I crumble up my protein bar and put that on top of the yogurt. So that's kind of good. It's kind of like granola and yogurt, but I'm having my protein bar on top of it. So just some tricks for you to think about. And this has taken me time to get all these tricks and routines down. I experiment. I was like, that might be good. And it ended up being really good and something that's fast and easy for me to maintain while I'm on a weight loss journey and working to hit my protein goals for the day. Let's talk about carbohydrates. Why does everyone hate them? I don't know. I actually love them. I am a fruit fanatic. And if you want to talk about carbohydrates, there's a lot of carbs in fruit. There's also a lot of fiber in fruit. So, in nutrition, if you're in nutrition class, the fiber section comes along with the carbohydrates and when you're learning about them. So when I like to think of carbs, I'm like, okay, what type of carbohydrates can I eat that have a lot of fiber? So whole veggies, raw whole fruits. Those are really, they're simple, they're fast, you can get them anywhere, they're not super expensive. You are doing great and you're getting your carbs in. And not only that, but when you're eating lots of fruits and veggies, you're getting micronutrients in, and those are your elements and your vitamins and minerals. So, raw fruits and veggies are going to help you hit your carbohydrate and fiber goals. And man, we could list all the fruits and veggies, right? Like, I really eat a lot of berries. So the fruits and veggies that I have in my fridge, I do bell peppers, carrots, celery, cucumbers, baby tomatoes, honey crisp apples, and blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. And then a lot of times I'll get maybe a more fun fruit. So depending on what season it is, like I like to get sliced mango or watermelon. But listen, just stuff that you get out of the produce aisle. Have you ever heard shop the perimeter of the grocery store? And that's because you're getting more whole foods when you do that. So think about what are the fruits and veggies that you love and maybe write down 2 or 3 because that's what you're going to plug into your meal plan. And think about the things that you are already buying, right? Like maybe you don't want to switch it up and maybe you don't want to start eating bell peppers. You're like, I don't really like those. I don't want to add cucumber. I like to eat apples and strawberries and that's really it. Or I like to eat grapes. That's totally fine. Remember, this is all up to you, but one really great way that I ensure that I'm getting enough fiber and carbohydrate is I really focus on fruits and vegetables. Now, you can also get carbohydrate in whole grains. And so, like rice and quinoa. So and even pastas aren't bad, you guys. We just have to eat them in the right portions. Pasta actually has a pretty good amount of protein in it. So think about how much you're eating of these things. And instead of thinking, oh, carbs are bad, I like to think about, well, what kind of carbohydrate am I eating? And am I eating all rainbow white bread and jelly that's not actually a fruit preserve, but it's just like jelly, like it's not even really fruit? And am I putting like sugar peanut butter on my, like, or am I getting natural all raw peanut butter, which literally is just peanuts and salt instead of whatever it is that they put all the soybean oil and all the other crap they put in it and sugars? Think about how you can get these nutrients in whole food packages. So raw foods, fruits and veggies, rice that you make on your own, pastas, quinoa oats, whole wheat breads. Smart carbs are the carbs that are high in fiber and, like I said, raw fruits and veggies. And when you're making bread selections, take some time and read the food label because you can really find some high protein bread. So right now, they're putting this on the label. They're using it as a selling point. They're saying, our bread has like high protein in it. That's really great. Maybe those taste really good for you. I stick to like organic things if I can. So I don't know if I can get that, but like I really like Dave's bread. It's like the 5 seed or something. It has, I can't remember the protein content, but it's like 3 or 4 grams of protein. I know Ora Wheat makes 100% whole wheat and it has really high protein. I think it's like 4 or 5 grams of protein per slice or per serving. That's quite high for bread and really great for fiber if you're doing 100% whole wheat and you're getting carbohydrates. I mean, bread is also really demonized in the nutrition / weight loss world, and it really shouldn't be. Remember, it's all about the particular choice of bread that you're making, the particular choice of how much of that item you're eating and, what category does it fall in? Is it like really highly processed bread, which you could consider it actually not to be bread, like a white bread, versus something like a Dave's bread that's 100% whole wheat made with organic seeds and flour and grain. That's really where you want to be focusing. And you can work on that, just plugging new things in here and there and seeing how you like them. So think about all the fruits and veggies that you love, select 2 or 3, and plug them into your daily eating routine to get those carbs and fiber. Okay, let's talk about fats. So we could probably do a whole episode on fats, but I just want to talk about quote unquote healthy fats and why they're important, but in controlled portions. So I've said this 1,000 times already. All the foods are important. You can eat whatever you want. It has to be in the right portion. And the way that you know if it's the right portion is, you just experiment. You read the food labels. And one way that you can start is just by eating the recommended serving size of things. And I'm going to put a resource in the show notes. It's where we, before, when I was in college and I was in a couple of my nutrition classes, we used this website called selfnutrition.com. And it's basically like a nutrition database with caloric, amounts and vitamin and mineral amounts. It's like a massive library. And that was before we had all these apps and things. But this website is very, very useful, and it helps with serving size recommendations. So you can use that. But you have the food labels at your disposal here. So if peanut butter, for example, is a healthy fat, for example, it says 1 serving is 2 tablespoons. That's the serving that you should have, and that's the serving that you should log. Now, if you find that like you could have a little bit more calories or in your food budget for the day, or you're like, I really need just a little bit more, experiment, maybe do 2.5. But we want to work on appropriate portion sizing instead of taking the spoon and just slopping a bunch of peanut butter on your bread and not knowing how much you're eating. That's how we overconsume. So think about that. And fats in particular, I'm really sticky about measuring and portioning more so than carbs and proteins, is because fats give us more calories per gram. So fats can really be the tipping point of us overeating and blowing our calorie budget, because unlike carbohydrates and protein, fats give us 9 calories per gram. So something with a fat is just numerically going to give us more energy, which is great. And that's why one of the reasons we're all so drawn to it, it's like a survival instinct that we love high fat food, because we know we can save it and utilize it in case we don't have food in the future. But here's the thing, we don't live, at least in the US, we don't live in a place where there's really a lack of food. So that's why we have to work on our portion control sizes. We actually have an abundance of food. It is a massive blessing. Praise God for the blessing of all the food that we have at our disposal in the United States and many other developed countries, but it's coming at, the cost of our health in many ways. So we can mitigate that by appropriate portion sizes. So even avocados, which is a healthy fat, it's a fruit, delicious. I love them. A whole avocado is going to give you a whole lot of healthy fat, which is great, right? Those omega fats. But because it's so much fat in the avocado, in one avocado, it's like a lot of calories, right? So you want to save your calories. So you're like, I don't want to just eat one avocado for the day, or, one avocado and that's all I have for half of the day because I need to maintain my calorie budget. No, we are going to have, usually for avocado, the serving size that I do 1/4 of the avocado. And that seems to be pretty good. But with nuts seem to be like they're this tiny thing, and seeds, they're just these tiny things that we can toss in our mouth and they're quick. They are highly calorie dense. All right, so nuts and seeds, they're tiny, they are easy. They're a great snack. They're a quick thing that you can grab. They're very healthy for you. But just like the avocado, right? You're like, it's an avocado. It's a fruit. It's really good for me. Yes, it's totally good for you. It's a great choice, but we still have to eat it in moderation because of the fat content. And the same thing goes for nuts and seeds. Really pay attention to the nutrition labels here and look at the serving sizes. So I love cashews. I never eat in a day. I shouldn't say never, but I'm very diligent about only having, I think it's 15 raw cashews is the serving size. And that is a lot of calories. It's over 200 calories, I'm pretty sure, or right up to 200 calories, which is a lot for if you think about just a little handful of nuts. Like, so it's not because I'm trying to undereat, it's because I want to save my calorie budget for more, dinner and, a bigger lunch. I don't want to just blow it all on eating like 7 handfuls of cashews because I wasn't paying attention. So healthy fats, we need them. They need to be eaten in moderation and with tight portion control. So avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oils, fatty fishes, always make sure that you're measuring these things out and just experimenting on the portion control sizes that work for you and that are allowing you to maintain your calorie budget. So salad dressings that have oil, anything with oil based. If you're going to use butter, you can totally use butter. I use butter. I always measure it out. Mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise. Same thing. Some of those, like peanut butter, you got to measure it out just because, not because it's terrible for you. In fact, a lot of it's great for you. It's just because they're so calorie dense because of the fat content. So I love fatty fish. Another way that you can get really healthy fats is through supplementation. So fish oil pills, they are highly recommended for multiple reasons, but it is another way, just like with the protein, that you can get in your healthy fats. But you do have to account for taking those fish oil pills in your calorie budget as well. It's not like free calories. So wrapping up the fats discussion, some of the fats that I love are avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, fish. I mean, I love me some salmon. Okay. Oh, it is so good. And I also love peanut butter. So what are some of the healthy fats that you think you might like avocados? Cheeses are great too. Of course, eat it in moderation. This is one of those things that you need to make sure that you're measuring out. A typical serving size of cheese is 1 ounce. So make sure you get your scales in your kitchen and your measuring cups so you have everything you can do to make sure that you can portion your food out appropriately. And there is an episode in the Health Hobby podcast about that. I think it's, it might be episode 3, I think, but it's an earlier episode. It's like all the kitchen essentials you need that I use for all of the nutrition strategies that we're talking about here today and cooking and things like that and maintaining portion control. So lots of choices there for you. So, write down a couple of those things that you might like to get in your healthy fats for the day. Okay, so we talked about proteins, we talked about carbs, we talked about fats, we talked about fiber. Let's talk about putting them all together. Why? Because putting them all together is how to build a balanced weight loss friendly meal. You can have a breakfast, you could have yogurt, berries and almonds. Lunch, you could have chicken salad with leafy greens, avocado and olive oil dressing, all portioned out, of course. For dinner, you can have salmon and roasted sweet potatoes and broccoli. Snacks, maybe cottage cheese, fruit hummus, veggies, deviled eggs. Oh my gosh, I love deviled eggs. But just think about easy ways that you can combine, some of the things that you wrote down to make your meals. So I know that was a lot, but let's talk about really quick some ways that you can maintain and be really strategic and successful in what you're eating for your weight loss journey. So the first thing is planning ahead. So this is the first step. You're learning, you're listening, you're just taking it all in. Plan ahead, get on Pinterest, look at some meals, like maybe look up high protein meals. If you go on the Health Hobby podcast Pinterest page, there's a board that's high protein meals. You can just snag something from there or just keep it simple. Maybe you're like, I'm going to start every day this next week, I'm going to do a protein shake for breakfast. And that's the one thing I'm going to implement, this week, and just really work on maintaining that routine, and then maybe build in a lunch, right? So think about building that protein foundation, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then plugging in additional protein here and there throughout the day with snacks. Protein first, protein focused, but we're not going to forget about healthy fats and carbs. So that's where I like to plug in. I call it my tasty food. So all the fruits that I love fruits so much, veggies as snacks. And then, my tortilla chips are one of my carbohydrates portions that I have for the day. And just remember, you are in control. You have the ability to lose weight eating foods you love in appropriate portions that keep you within your calorie budget. And one of the things we didn't hit on too much today is water, but hydration really matters. So anytime I start to really kind of feel hungry, I have some sips of water first. I don't avoid food, but I like to make sure that I get some water in, like a half glass of water, a full glass of water. And then, if I'm still really feeling hungry, I'll go find a snack, or if it's getting to be like your regular mealtime, that makes sense. But make sure you're drinking enough water. So there's all these different sayings about how much water you should be drinking. I like to try to drink at least 100 ounces of water, but the amount of water that you should be drinking is based on your activity level. And, we're going to be doing strength training, so you're going to need to be hydrated so you can recover. You also, you don't want to be dehydrated, because then you're lethargic and you're tired. Your body can't function smoothly. So drinking enough water is really important, on top of, eating all these other essential nutrients and yummy foods. So one way to do that is kind of like front loading your day with protein and making sure you have that foundational protein, outline when you're making your meal plan, is, like I just said, start every meal, even your snacks, with a glass of water. And that's one really easy way to make sure you're going to be you're going to be drinking a lot of water. You might not be hitting 100 ounces, but you'll be drinking probably quite a bit more than you usually are. And if you're someone that drinks a lot of coffee, I recommend that you drop down to maybe 1 cup a day and replace all those other sips of coffee and caffeinated drinks, sodas, juices, with water. That right there is going to save you a lot of calories for more eating, which is always nice. And also even help you shed some pounds, because you're going to be, taking in less calories through liquid. Drinking your calories is not a good strategy. And I know I talk about protein shakes. That's not what I mean. I mean like sodas and frappuccinos from Starbucks, milkshakes, mostly like caffeinated, sugary drinks. I don't know, like lemonades, Arizona iced teas. Just high calorie beverages that really are they're just really, like, you don't need them. They are unnecessary food. They're just kind of nice to have. You can have them. Sometimes I like to get an Arizona iced tea, but I think an Arizona iced tea is actually 3 servings in 1 can. Yeah, have a look at that. It's pretty crazy. But maybe I share it with my husband, right? So there's ways to keep having all these things that you love and still maintain your calorie budget and not feel deprived, and not have to do cartwheels and contort to someone else's wacky food idea or some new trendy eating routine that, listen, you're not going to maintain, because it's not you. You need to eat with you in mind, your likes and minds, your family's routines and minds. And yeah, you might have to make some tweaks and shifts, but it's going to take time, and you're going to get there. And you're going to get there by tracking and experimenting and logging your food and paying attention and analyzing. And it really does, take that work, but it becomes smooth sailing later, after you've kind of gone through the weeds a little bit. And here's the thing, you guys, also don't fear fats and carbs. We just need to be mindful of the portions. So make your food choices, get to your meal planning, you really need to start, if you're thinking about jumping into transforming your nutrition as you listen to this and you haven't done your calorie budget yet, please go back to episode 18, which is the second episode in this nutrition series, and do your calorie budget. There's a download in the show notes there. You can grab that worksheet and get your calorie budget all squared away, and then you can officially start making your meal plan. And make sure you download a calorie tracking app. MyFitnessPal is fine, or I use Chronometer. The free versions of either are fine, and that will just help you maintain your calorie budget while you put in your portions of your food throughout the day. And you are then off to a really good start. So listen, the next episode, we're going to talk about tracking your food, maintaining, and analyzing. And that's going to wrap up our nutrition for weight loss series. So you'll have a 4-episode learning block of how you can learn a little bit about nutrition, get the math down, figure out what to eat, build a meal plan, and then utilize all your tracking by analyzing and, making shifts. We're going to talk about that, maybe making some tweaks. I'll talk about some food swaps and things to help you with that strategy to wrap up this series. And don't forget to grab my free meal plan template that's in the show notes. I always try to have something free and useful for you guys in the show notes most of the time in these episodes. So that is the first link for you down there. And of course, don't forget to follow and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, again, pop in the show notes or leave it in the YouTube comments. I am happy to answer any questions you have. All right, you guys, happy eating, bon appetit, and thanks for listening to the Health Hobby Podcast. Hey there, me again. Quick disclaimer. Here on the Health Hobby Podcast, I share tips, insights, and ideas to help you on your weight loss and fitness journey. But I'm not your doctor or your personal health guru. Before diving into any nutrition or fitness plans I talk about, make sure to check in with your healthcare provider. They know your body best. Think of this podcast as your cheerleader in a place for healthy living idea inspiration, not your prescription pad. Stay safe, stay smart, and let's crush those goals together. Until next time.